Power Scheming, a podcast highlighting working-class community organizers, advocates, and artists in the Midwest. My name is Elle, and today I'm joined by DJai Byrd, data lead for Springfield Tenants Unite. Springfield Tenants Unite, also known as STUN, is Springfield's citywide tenant union, organizing to ensure all people have access to safe, healthy, and truly affordable homes. V. Sanchez and Alice Barber founded STUN in June of 2020 amid the COVID-19 pandemic in an effort to equitably distribute relief funds to families experiencing housing instability. In the past 6 years, STUN has made historical wins for Springfield tenants. In November of 2025, after years of organizing, STUN's Healthy Homes Guarantee began their first pilot inspections. This program is the first time Springfield rental homes have been required to undergo inspection and licensing before entering the market. Community research has shown that 87% of rental households report poor housing conditions and/or slow to no response from property owners and managers when housing conditions are reported to them. The Healthy Homes Guarantee serves as a vital first step in improving housing conditions for Springfield tenants. After this historic win, in March of 2026, STUN was recognized as national leaders in the housing justice movement at the House U.S. Tenant Power and Policy Conference in New York City. The union is currently campaigning for right to counsel, which would ensure tenants receive fair representation when facing eviction. In Springfield, over 70% of landlords are represented in court by an attorney, while less than 10% of tenants receive this same legal representation. STUN's right to counsel legislation guarantees legal counsel for tenants facing eviction and ensures no family has to face eviction alone. This bill is currently stuck in Springfield's Community Involvement Committee. DJai has been involved with STUN since 2021. In the past 2 months, they have developed an Eviction Court Watch program for housing cases in Greene County. In addition to organizing, DJai is the drummer in Unessential Jane, and you can find their second music project under their alter ego, DJai Byrd. Welcome, DJai. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would like to first get started by talking about your history as an organizer. What inspired you to get involved in community organizing? Was there like a specific moment that drove you to taking that first step?
I don't know if there's like a particular moment that like I can point back to. I know there was like two key moments. One was in the wake of George Floyd and the protests there, I started to organize with a local Black Lives Matters group, and it was probably my first taste in like some kind of organizing. Definitely was like new for me, and they also were learning too, but that kind of died down a little bit, and through that ran into a leader or two from Springfield Tenants Unite. At the time, I was still married and a homeowner, and after being kicked from that home and that marriage dissolving, found myself back where I started before I was a homeowner, and that was no place to live. And I was learning, while I was a homeowner, I was learning about the struggles of like housing in general. And, you know, it was kind of like a us-them relationship to it. Like, I'm not a part of them because, you know, I got a home, to like, oh, I'm a part of you guys now. But also realizing, like, as I've gotten more involved over the years, that, like, actually, even when I was a homeowner, I still was a tenant, just not a tenant to a particular landlord, tenant to the bank. So, yeah, those are, like, the two things I know that kind of got me into community organizing. But if I have to pick one thing, it was definitely the disappointment of voting and not seeing the results of my votes. And that kind of got me started looking for, like, there's got to be something more than just every, 4 years, 2 years voting on something.
Mm-hmm. Who got you into STUN? Who was the organizer?
It was, there was an initial contact with V. Sanchez, and then Alice is another one that I remember during that time. And there was like I don't think they're with STUN anymore, but there's another person that was there too. So It was like initially V, and then had a couple one-on-ones with Alice, and then I think I went to a first done meeting on Zoom because it was like during COVID still, or the offskirts of COVID, and yeah, I didn't know that I was getting into a group at the time. And then also during the early years, Stun was also doing some work with KC Tenants. And so there was also like kind of getting thrown into that too. So I think everyone was kind of trying to figure things out too.
Yeah. So. What did those early days in Stun look like for you?
A lot of empty chairs, a lot of talking to people and thinking that we are on the same page and that we want to make some changes, and then realizing that totally is kind of I don't want to disappoint you, so I'm gonna say yes. That was interesting because I didn't realize it at the time, but for me, I was definitely looking for an answer to my situation. And I knew that mine wasn't a one-off, So definitely a lot of empty chairs, but then there was this kind of surgence of some of my friends and people that was in the community, and some stuck around. Others kind of are like on the outskirts, and then some are just kind of wondering like why I don't have time and what's going on. It's like, well, my circles are kind of different now, so I only have so many times in the day.
Yeah. What do you think it was when you were like living in that place of like extreme precarity that made you see it from like a systemic level and decide to move forward in that sense?
I remember my dad, my dad would try to kind of prepare me for adulthood. And so sometimes he'll take me, I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, and so he would take me to some of the places where, the homeless people would be at, whether they were just kind of waiting for the shelter or, they were just making do in the city. And I remember that when I was a young teenager, that like there are some people that it doesn't work out for them, whatever reason, right? But then when I was first getting involved with Stun, one of the powerful things that kind of like opened my eyes was like the housing timeline that we did. And basically just kind of like go from like birth to present. You just think about all the times that you were living somewhere and think about like why you were there, why you moved. Was it your choice to move? Like, did you want to move? Did you have to move? And so on and so forth. And during the exercise, it revealed that like me being homeless or housing insecure during this time wasn't a one-off. Like there was actually a couple of patterns. I had been homeless like several times throughout my life, and it really got me thinking about, it's so easy for us to kind of get hyper-focused on, well, I lost my job, or, someone got sick, and so, yeah, money's tight. Oh, I can't pay my bills. Oh, okay, here's the consequences of that. To, like, these fees don't make sense. Oh, this person's actually scamming me. Yeah, this is actually discriminatory. And those things are all systemic, even if, there could be, everyone's mom gets sick or something like that, and that could be the catalyst or the starter of it. But systemically, we don't live in a society where we are enabling the best versions of ourselves. We live in a society where they use the excuse we're trying to prevent the worst version of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And through that, so many unintended consequences have just devastated our society because of that.
Mm. What were the first projects that you guys were working on?
Trying to get people in the seats. One of the first projects I remember working on was we did what was it? You're taking me back because I'm trying to remember the different places. I'm so used to this office that we have now, but we didn't always have an office. Just trying to think. Okay, so one that's definitely coming to mind was we were kind of trying to figure out how do we balance the whole partisan thing. We wanted to like really let the community know about like the issues that were going on in the city, and like, you know, the people in city council who are not really have the best interest in mind for tenants. And so we did a sort of canvas where we were just knocking on doors and asking people like if they knew who their city council people were. And we sent out all these questionnaires to all the city council, and some responded, some didn't. Some had favorable answers, some didn't, you know, and we did this whole thing where we're just like, here's everyone's answers. And, you know, it was like really cool to kind of like navigate both the whole legality that comes with that space, but also like figuring out how to like talk to your neighbors and see them as your neighbors instead of seeing them as like strangers that you don't know, because I didn't realize it at the time, but I think like that's like a big thing on my heart is that I remember knowing my neighbors, or even if I went to my friend's house or family's house, like you knew your friends or family, but you also knew their neighbors, you know, and so eventually your family's neighbors became your friends, and so on and so forth. And so that was one of the first projects I remember doing here in Springfield. Earlier than that, though, I think the project that was probably first was doing the Smo tenants. We were doing a thing where KC, Springfield, Cape Girardeau, we were just deep canvassing, and that was crazy. I didn't realize, I know racism is a thing, I know discrimination is a thing, but I didn't realize how much it could affect my job when my job is talking to people, and then people have whatever perceptions they have from society or their upbringing or ideologies and whatnot. And so there was kind of like this moment of trying to separate me learning how to engage in this work versus some of the systemic, what do you call it, just atrocities that we have, you know. But it was fun. We talked to like over 300 tenants.
Damn.
Yeah, it was really cool. We went to like, we didn't just stay in Springfield either. We also, you know, ventured up into Joplin and, you know, just trying to talk to tenants and renters. And that's kind of where some of our first stats started coming from, about not just in Springfield, but like in other places, like the ratio of tenants to non-tenants in the city.
Had you ever canvassed before this?
Have I ever canvassed before this? I mean, I guess if like knocking on people's doors to kind of like give them a track is canvassing, then yeah. I did a little of that, but no, not to the degree of like the deep canvassing that we're doing now. That was like the first time. It was actually like, it was fun, but also really scary. I remember not wanting the people who were training me to like leave me, and I didn't know why, other than I thought that I wasn't good enough at, you know, reaching people. But I had to like learn how to like be myself while talking to people, and it's okay that I don't sound like the person who trained me, you know. So, but yeah, I don't think I really canvassed in this way before.
How does it feel to canvass for you?
It feels exciting, and it feels it's like a mix of excitement and definitely nerves. There's definitely you know, some of the things that I don't think about a lot, but it's definitely a real thing. It's like, you know, well, this person could totally misunderstand me, misunderstand my intentions, and I try not to think about that too much. And I think more of like, I try to approach it more of like a friend that you haven't seen in years. Like, okay, we're talking to each other because like there's some commonality here, but it also might have changed, you know. That when I started to do that, the nerves started to like kind of go down more. And then I found myself also training other people. And so I don't know if there's a term for this, but you know how like you're scared of something, but there's also someone else who's also scared of it. And so you kind of like are a little braver for them, and it's like easier for you. Yeah. When I started training other people to canvas, then the nerves started to like go away, because it's like, well, I can't be nervous and pass that to you. So yeah.
I definitely get that. I was like training someone last night, and I swear, like when you have another person that hasn't done it before, like the confidence that you feel in that position, you're like, I'm just an old dog at this. It's no worries.
Yeah.
How do you feel like when you get done with a canvas?
When I get done with the canvas, I feel accomplished just in doing another canvas. You know, there's like real threats that are happening from our government. They don't want us like building power. They want us talking to each other. So just the old no solicitation and that whole conversation. It's like, we're not selling anything, and we have amendments, I guess. I don't know. I mean, the last year and a half has been interesting, seeing how we have amendments to and freedoms and rights to. Well, actually,
yeah.
But I feel a sense of like, I can only do so much. I'm one person, and if history is a collection of like what we've done, then I feel proud of like being able to talk to more people than I probably would have talked to if I wasn't canvassing. And also like learn too. I don't pretend to think I'm right and know everything, and I try to preface when I talk to people, especially in these kind of ways, that I am not an expert, what I have gathered or learned. And it's cool, especially when you run into someone like in their 70s or 80s, and they want to like tell you about how things were, or you run into someone your age or younger, and they're just like, yeah, this is like really effed up, and I want to do something about it, So yeah, I feel like accomplished and proud.
Going door to door for the first time is objectively an anxiety-inducing experience. Like, that is a scary thing to do. Go knock on your neighbors' doors. What other like fears or anxieties did you hold when you just got into organizing in general?
Well, this may come to a shock to people that hear this, but I'm actually more introverted than I let on. And I learned early on that if you ask the questions, there's like this uncertainty you have like a control over. And so I think that's why I do kind of like canvassing, because I don't know whose door I'm knocking on and what's going to happen, but I kind of have an idea of what I want to talk about, and I'm very clear about what I want to win. So that helps me with the nerves. Earlier on, definitely navigating just, I didn't really have too many. There was like one here or there. I remember one time with my dad when we were driving, police had stopped us and definitely was like totally was interested in like what I was doing. Mind you, I'm like 17 at the time, and my dad was just like, he's my kid, but wasn't believing him. And so I'm totally used to like some of these experiences, but I didn't really like have a lot of direct experiences until I got out to Missouri. One of the most recent ones was like I was on the doors, and I'm there with a team, and we have a volunteer, and I'm in a building, it's an apartment where you can go inside, and the doors are hallways, right? And so I'm there, and I'm about to knock on a door, and I hear the door open behind me, and this police in riot gear is walking in, and another one walks in, and there's kind of this look of like, you probably don't want to be here right now. That's what they were kind of like giving me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk out, and I'm just like, my heart's pounding, and I was like going to go to the car, and I was like, but I need to go tell my team. And so instead of calling them, I went to the building they were in, and I was just like, well, let's go. And then at that time, the property manager was walking in too, and usually there is like this opportunity to like educate, like, hey, we're here, we're canvassing, we're not soliciting, and we'd go through that talk and kind of, that way. But she was like, I think you guys should go. And I wasn't, and mind you, during this time, my team still doesn't know what I've seen and what's going on in the other building. So when I finally get them to the car, I let them know what's happening. And I think I hadn't been scared that much in my life, except for when this big dog was chasing me. So those are the two canvassing stories of like fear that I have. Riot police and a loose dog. But I didn't get bit though. So.
I don't think it could possibly get worse than those two, actually. So, I mean, that's top of the list. It's all downhill from there.
Yeah, there's definitely you'll definitely get it like a little horror story too that might come up on the doors. But for the most part, it's really like the fun surprises. Like, I kid you not, I remember this lady. She gave me a glass of water. And when she found out what I was doing, she was like really on board with it, right? Supportive. And she's like, you guys don't get paid. And I was like, actually, I'm volunteering for this one. And she's like, gave me $20. She's like, this is for gas. And yeah. And it was just like, thank you. Because actually, I did need gas. So, So just to let, I don't want people thinking like, oh my God, just nothing but horror stories out there. It's random. You don't know what you're going to get. And many times it is good things. But, just like everything else, there is a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an intimidating thing to do. But I think, like, canvassing's the most, like, hope-fulfilling thing you can possibly do. Because it's just like, damn, we do know what's in our self-interest. We are so much more aligned than we think that you are. And, like, that's not something that you would get without having explicit conversations with people.
Definitely also when, you're talking with someone and they don't necessarily have to be, like, diametrically opposed to you, right? But they do have a differing opinion and you are talking with them and they hear your side, you hear their side, and then they start to do the math. I think that was like the big thing for me, probably like a year into canvassing, was like, we're so busy trying to make sure we have a roof over our heads, our food on the table, or we have the things we need, right? That we oftentimes don't have the time to think about, wait, why do I have to pay this fee? Why do I have to move? Why is the rent going up? Why can't I afford anything? And, when you get an opportunity to kind of like talk with them and they get to like think for a moment instead of just being in the go, go, go. I think that it's just, if I'm being honest, I think that's something that does kind of like, renews my soul, because I think about like that was me, I didn't understand that I was homeless like 3 to 4 times in my life until I got to sit down and think about like, where have I been? How long did I live here? Why did I have to move? Oh wait, I remember like why my uncle was, staying at my family's house or, whatever. Like, those are the things that we don't get to think about a lot of times because we're so busy just trying to make sure that like, oh man, my tire just went out. I got to get that fixed, but that means rent's going to be late or, and we're just bogged down. So I definitely feel like it's rewarding and renewing to the soul, to just like have a conversation with someone. It's great to have them with the people that agree with you. Yeah, it's totally great, but I think it's cool to have it with those that like may have a differing opinion, but they don't know why. And then they're actually to think about why. And then like, actually I do want to do something about it. What are you guys doing? Let's do something, So.
Yeah. For people that are like in that just kind of like survival mode, how would you advise someone to sit down and reflect like on their position and what's causing that?
I think it's hard to like think about it when you are in survival mode, but I think something that like helped me was like, just having some form of community around you and being mindful of it. We're so bombarded with this individualism of I've got to do it. I can't accept help from my parents because that makes me a failure. That was like a big thing I try to like make clear. That's one reason why I ended up here in Missouri. I was so scared of the narrative of like the son living in his mom's basement that I didn't want to ask for help because that's a form of weakness. we're communal creatures. Like, as a baby that comes into this world, we need other people to survive. And that's the natural way. The way our society's built is so unnatural that, like, you're made to feel like you're a failure and it's your fault if you can't survive. But, like, you didn't create the rules. You didn't make these systems that are dictating whether or not you can eat or not, or whether you can stay in a place or not. For those that feel like they're in survival mode, just like we need to sleep and rest and take time to eat, I feel we also just need to take time to just, like, maybe 5 minutes, just like think about one thing that you're having to worry about, and, like, why are you having to worry about it? Like, what's the cause of it? And then talk to people you trust. If you don't trust anyone, I mean, there's all different reasons for, like, why relationships end, or, there's conflict, but try to seek out someone you trust. Try to build a relationship with someone you trust. Like, find a community that you can kind of soundboard off of, not echo chamber, but a safe place you can, like, give your thoughts out. I think that's, like, one of the reasons why I liked the union that I'm in, is, like, the leaders that I was there with. I felt like there was definitely some dark and twisted ideology I was brought up in, right? But once I started recognizing it myself, having a safe place that I can be like, hey, like, this might be messed up, but, like, what is the 411 with this? Like, what's actually happening with this? And being able to break it down and know that my intention, even if my impact in that moment may have been harm, my intention was to learn, to be better, So I think your original question was, like, what do you say to people that are trying to survive in survival mode? Like, you definitely need community. It doesn't always have to be your blood family. I know sometimes family is, like, the worst place you can go to because of whatever. It doesn't always have to be your blood family, but having at least another person or a group of people that you can be yourself with, or explore who you are, and likewise, it just starts with a conversation, really.
Where have you found that community for yourself?
I want to say I found it in several places. I think the most consistent one has been in organizing. At the end of the day, a lot of the people that are doing this work also want the same, if not very similar things that I want, and that is that we just don't want to have to, like, be run ragged and exploited. We definitely want dignity. We definitely want our basic needs. We're not even trying to take anyone's riches away from them. We're just trying to stop this whole idea that if you don't produce some form of value in society, you don't deserve to have your basic needs met. I get really passionate about, like, just all of the cognitive dissonance and then, like, the blatant lies that happen back and forth. And it just, like, really just, like, so many thoughts of, like, wait a minute, this wouldn't work, that wouldn't work. If that was true, there would be this. And so I kind of get lost in the sauce of it.
Yeah. When did you start, like, identifying that dissonance?
It was probably, I remember I was in KC. I can't remember if it was a party and a training or whatever, but I was on the porch of a leader's house, and it really, like, hit me that here I am talking to other people about housing, talking to other people that have lost their housing or have been homeless, and I'm in my mind relating to them, but also not identifying myself as housing insecure, because as I was also doing that, I was housing insecure. I hadn't even gotten an apartment yet. I was still kind of bed hopping and living out of my vehicle. And so it was kind of like a breakdown to, like, again, fighting through that pride. But I am not in a vacuum. I am affected by my environment and my community. And right now our society is very toxic. I mean, it's escalated to the point that we're back to, like, criminalizing homelessness. If you look at our history, one of the first things they started to do when the law was like, oh, no longer can have slaves. Well, let's criminalize you don't have a job. Well, a lot of these slaves that were just free didn't have a job. So now, and then plus on top of that, you can only have slaves unless, you're in prison. Well, there's your loophole right there already, Okay, you're free. Oh, you don't have a job? Well, come over here now. You're a slave again. So definitely that dissonance of I was homeless and not owning that and not trying to see my self-interest of what do I want as a homeless person. And, it started getting me to think about, well, how do I solve this homeless problem? Well, the only way I can guarantee that I have a home is that everyone has a home. Because if everyone has a home, then I won't be homeless. Because everyone has a home.
Yeah.
And so, just started thinking about it in that way. So I think that was, one of my first kind of big breakdowns in, the dissonance of, here I was talking to these people, hearing these stories, oh, yeah, we need to fight for this. And, kind of working at it from, it's a good cause instead of, no, I want this. This is in my self-interest.
How do you define self-interest?
Yeah, self-interest is just, what do you want? That's how I define it. It's what do I want? What is it that do I want? And I want people to be able to have more informed choices. They can have something presented to them and have time to process it. There's not someone trying to scam them. There's not some unnecessary deadline that's pushing them to act one way, and that's not really what they want to do. So self-interest, what do you want?
And how do you define power?
The ability to do something. Yeah, it's just I grew up religious. I got saved at a circus, which I think is the best place for someone like me to get saved at. Because it just kind of just shows just how very clear they are about this idea. But for me, power is really it gets muddled a lot. Same with love. There is these societal definitions that get thrown out. Power corrupts, absolutely. Oh, it's just going to turn you evil. But power is what we're doing right now. You wanted to do a podcast and you have the means to do it and you're doing it. That's power. Right now, if they want to make gas $6 a gallon, what power do we have to have any say in that? None. But again, who has the power to do that? Well, it's not this invisible hand. It's literally people being hey, you know what? We could probably blame it on the war. We could probably blame it on whatever. Hey, let's just I don't know, let's see how much we can raise this rent and these costs of resources. Maybe if we push, we can get a little bit more money off of it. All of that's just power. Being able to do something, being able to stop something. And so this notion that we can't have too much power because that'll corrupt us. No, power meets power. And so it's no different than in our own circles. Conflict happens, harm happens. Our ability to answer those things is where we can see power, right now, if someone gets harmed in our society, there's little to no power for the people that are harmed. We're seeing it in the court system. We're seeing it on the streets. We're seeing it in the attacks on our amendments and our freedoms. They are trying to strip our power away to have bodily autonomy, to dictate who we are. Power is just simply the ability to do something. And I think that is crucial for people to understand, because if we're not aware of what power actually is and we're not daily struggling to build power, we are going to be at the mercy of those who are.
So you are an artist and a musician.
Mm-hmm.
How has organizing informed your art?
Oh my gosh. Organizing has informed so many areas of my life, especially my art. I'm a very risk taker person, but I used to operate under this notion of like not making plans, because what I have learned is when you make plans, there's going to be something that's going to come along to make your plans not work or harder or whatever. And so to kind of keep this carefree spirit, I just kind of went with like, oh, well, we're just going to flex. We're just going to like pivot, audible, whatever. And what organizing has helped me is like, well, if you do want something, it's in your best interest to know exactly what it is. And that's going to help you determine how to get there. Now, again, we're all learning, we're all growing. So like definitely have learned along the way in organizing. But how it's impacted my arts is that if I want to affect change in the arts, especially, around how like artists are oftentimes bamboozled into, oh, I need to sign this record label, or, I need to go this certain route, only to find out that like, hey, yeah, now you don't own your product. Now you don't even own your name. I remember I was working for this DJ company for weddings, and knew enough to read the fine print, and it was like, well, you can't use your DJ name outside of this company for at least a year or something like that. And I really had a cool name for it, and I was just like, oh no, I'm not going to give, like, I'm going to throw out some crazy name or something, like I don't care about. But because even that, I wouldn't have that awareness to like think about it if it wasn't learning about like self-interest, and also like lining your ducks up of like, okay, if I want X, right, then I need to do Y and Z, And on the flip side of that, I've also been learning to like defragment myself. And so I kind of grew up in an environment where, you love something or you respect something by sacrifice, right? And so I thought, oh, if I need to be a good organizer, I need to put down my artistry. I need to put it down. I can't do that. That doesn't matter. What I've been learning is that actually that is who I am. Like, it's a part of who I am. And so I need to show up fully in organizing and as myself. And so the arts have been influencing my organizing, about the creativity of how to have these conversations, have these one-on-one, how to fill the chairs, how to like get people agitated around, like, we have a responsibility. If we do not like how our government is working, how our society is working, if we want to improve our communities, like, we have a responsibility to, do the bare minimum, which is just to be educated on like how things are running. You can't solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is. And a lot of our community, sadly, doesn't even know what the problem is. They think the problem is that homeless dude digging through the dumpster, because that's what society's telling them. Or they think the problem is, oh, well, it's these people that are trying to get these quote unquote handouts, but it's literally assistance for a reason. So yeah, organizing has definitely like helped my artistry. When I got into DJing, I had learned a lot about, it makes so much sense to like label everything and everything have a place. And I'm so chaotic. I'm just so used to just like, I'll put it over in that corner and it'll be there for a week, after. And then there are other things will be in that corner too now. And all of a sudden there's a pile I have to dig through for that one thing that in that corner that I really want, and everything else. Why do I have everything? Where did this come from? And so yeah, definitely organizing played a big part in my artistry, but also my artistry starting to influence my organizing too. So that's been cool.
Yeah, I think like everyone that gets into organizing, we all have like unique gifts and talents. How do you think your artistry has influenced your work as organizing?
I think the big one is like really like meeting people where they are. I would love to say that like, it was the organizers at Springfield Tenants Unite that like pulled the trigger and got me into it. that definitely was like one of the final like catalysts of it. But it really started with like the music I listened to. And at the time I was like really big into like spoken word, hearing people talk about issues that I couldn't imagine anyone would understand. It's really got me thinking about like, how do I break down these complex ideologies into something that like the everyday person can kind of grasp, because again, it's kind of not our fault that we kind of get thrust into this perpetual cycle of like just go, go, go. But for those of us who like understand that life doesn't have to be this way, there's the challenge. Like, how do we also get other people to understand, like, you don't have to go, go, go. You don't have to like make your life be this like pass fail. I didn't make it to certain status by X age, therefore I have failed. Or I am living with my parents still, I have failed, and really just like digging underneath it of like, what is the world that you want and what are the things you need to build that world. But it does help me to get out of the logical brain and just imagine, because in the logical brain, you kind of get into the like, you can't do this, you can't do that. But sometimes you just have to like be unrealistic and then go backwards from there. It's like, okay, well, that may not work, right? Yeah, humans can't fly. Okay, that's great. I know that. But what if humans could like, just take a moment to say a week, and they could just go to another place in the country or in the world, and they can experience life in that way just for a week. Like, okay, that is totally possible, right? What needs to happen? Oh, now you're starting to solve housing issues, because like oftentimes housing is just the people that are stationary, right? But if you're an artist, especially a traveling musician, housing is very mobile, and we haven't even solved the stationary one. So the mobile one must be hectic, right? Oh, food. Okay, again, why are we throwing away food? Like, why are we throwing away food when there's so many people hungry? Oh, we have to keep the value up. Why do we need value? Why do we need value for things? I think something that really like changed my life is like the amount of people that have like given me something, and my instinct was to, I'm gonna pay you back. I don't want anything from you. And how like to a point it's almost demonized for people that think that way. Oh my gosh, you're just throwing away. You're gonna like, but if that's possible, then this system of this cash and everything like that, it didn't exist this whole time. It was created, so it looks like it could be possible, to not have this system where you need food, you need shelter, but oh, you don't have enough money, so you don't deserve it, or you don't need it. Like, the arts really helped me kind of like think through those, dare I say, scared to go places, in those areas, because people are like, well, who's gonna pay for it? Or that's a utopia. It's like, wait, what? Like, we're just dreaming here right now. Yeah. Like, yeah. So yeah, that's how the arts have like helped me in my organizing to like think about some very real problems, but like maybe unorthodox ways. Mm-hmm. And then bring it back to like a place where it's like, okay, so if I do want, I don't know, say right to counsel, then I need to do X, Y, and Z. Or if I do want rent control, then we need to do X, Y, and Z. Or if I do want paid city council people, then I need to do X, Y, Z, And I know I'm naming some things that are definitely on my mind about what I want, but it could be anything, How do I can't afford a house. Oh, but my friends all also want a house. Wait, let's see if we can just like get a house together. We stay there together and we pay that house off. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. Okay, but we're only going to be on this earth for a limited amount of time. Well, how do we make sure that like it can be affordable for other people? Well, now I feel dabbling into what land trust, land bank is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
again, it's just like, that's how the arts have like helped me. It's just like taking it out of this like impossible, very like, you have to have training and education to think about it, to what do you want to do? Okay, how do we do it? Yeah.
With all of these being really systemic problems, it can be very intimidating to actually like get involved. And so with that, why is it so important for us to be getting involved at this very local level?
I think the local level, people don't realize often how powerful the local level is. And just off the top of my head, I think why it's important to get involved is, let's think of the alternative. If no one is working on anything to make these things better or combat these harmful things, if no one's doing it, then what's going to happen? It's going to continue, or it's going to get worse. So, okay, if one person's working on it, is one person going to be able to change it? No. So it's going to continue and get worse. When you start there, then you realize, okay, really, if I'm not getting involved and I'm just complaining, then I'm not really doing anything. But if I'm at least doing something, legitimately doing something, and again, everyone's capacity is different, someone, all they can do is give money, but guess what? We're in a cash society. Money does help. Some people can only donate so much of their time. Again, that does help, and some people can go like all out. Totally fine. Do what you can when you can. Just simply, if people are not getting involved, whether it's locally, state, or nationally, the whatever amount of people that is needed, whatever the amount of resources that are needed, if that's not being met, then the things are going to continue or get worse. And that is a truth that I don't know how to make nice.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. It's going to continue or get worse. So it was very clear to me that like, if I wanted to engage in my arts, if I wanted to do the things I wanted to do, I have to do something about these systemic issues.
What's the importance of confronting the systemic at the municipal level?
I think the municipal level is like, it's in your backyard. Like, that's number one. We can get out of this whole someone who doesn't understand, who doesn't live here, dictating what we who do live here, who are impacted by this. There's definitely some overreach, I feel, already right now. Like rent control, for example, like it's preempted at the state level. But why? Again, especially for all the people that were yelling small government. How's this small government? State of Missouri is a pretty big place, What's happening in Springfield and the environment of Springfield, trying to put all of the things and make Springfield standards KC standards is going to be just craziness. We do need some autonomy, right? And I understand that also there needs to be some collaboration. That's your communities, that's your neighborhoods. At the local level, I think it helps us exercise seeing each other as neighbors instead of seeing each other as they want us to see each other and as competition. So starting locally, it allows you to actually have informed information, meet the people you're living with, and then collaborate,
And so on that local level, what are 3 dream policies that you would do in Springfield right now? And you can only do 3.
I can only do 3? I've toyed with the idea of running, and people have been like, oh, you should run. And, again, starting in a place of like unrealisticness. But when I got to reality, I don't work in a place that I can volunteer time. So I think having paid city council would allow not just me, but people in my position who are impacted to be in a place of power to affect change. You look at city council right now, I don't see tenants on there. I don't see anyone that if their vehicle breaks down, they have to make life-changing choices, or, is navigating like, well, I hope I don't get injured or sick because I can't afford healthcare. Like, I don't see that there. I see what their self-interest is. I see developers, I see landlords, I see lawyers, and I see them acting in their self-interest. If we want impacted people to be able to like have power to effect change, then we need to make it possible for impacted people to have power to provide change. So that's one. I think the other one is like, I want local autonomy, but I want local autonomy in like all areas. Like, again, rent control. Why is rent going up just because the land value is going up? I at least had the idea that I might be able to afford a house when I was a kid. I read Noah Webster. He worked through summer and then went to college, and then he was able to get a house. Some of my older family members were able to do that too. But me and my kids and the people, coming behind me, like, good luck trying to find a place to rent, let alone like having a starter home. So like, what is this benefit of just constantly increasing the value just because you can? So having local autonomy so that like we can enact the regulations that we need. We need people to do the work of holding accountability. We have a lack of accountability of our government officials. We have a lack of accountability of people in these powerful places. And we're seeing the devastation that it's causing. And then the last one, a housing platform. I want a housing platform. Housing is a basic need, like full stop. The people that are sitting in their chairs saying it shouldn't be a basic need are literally also saying that from a place where they go home to a bed. I haven't seen anyone that doesn't have a bed saying housing isn't a basic need. I haven't seen anyone that doesn't have a house say that. And again, back to the accountability, we need to be able to hold that accountable. That is stability. You want people to have kids. Well, kids should have a place to live, full stop. Again, how many people are getting evicted? And not only are their lives getting thrown in shambles, but their kids' lives are getting thrown in shambles. We have elected officials just being like, it's okay. It's totally fine because that's part of the system. Mm-hmm. Some people are going to have bad luck. This is not luck. This is not luck at all. So I know I kind of like cheated on the last two, gave you general ones, but I definitely paid city council as like definitely a policy or a change that I want to see happen, because then I realistically could potentially run.
And to just kind of like wrap all of that up on this municipal level, what would you say to someone that's like been toiling with the idea of getting involved in organizing in Springfield, but they just haven't made that first step yet? What would your advice be?
Look online and do some research. It's actually kind of cool when I get into the incognito tab and like look up Springfield Tenants Unite and just seeing how it pops up, and some of the other orgs too. Yeah, definitely get interested about like what you want, get curious about it, look it up and reach out. Or for the risk adverse people, like take a risk, take one risk. It doesn't have to be a big one. I'm not saying go sell your house and all this other stuff. Like, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that like if it's difficult for you to like be in groups, start with a small group. Start with something small. If it's difficult for you talking with people, talk to someone that you haven't talked to in a while. Start small. Kind of build those muscles, because like if I were to summarize like many of the things I talked about today, is like our community is so deteriorated and rotten that we don't even know what community is and looks like. And it's going to be on each and every one of us to define that. I've been struggling hard because I've been working a lot more with people that are not able-bodied as me, and really just seeing the mirror of like how many things either I take for granted or how many voices I just kind of like overlook because I don't have to deal with it. But now I'm working in community with them, and so now I'm like learning how to like provide space or even encourage their voices to be upheld, so that someone who may not have the ability to walk can also still be in the same space with me, which I do have the ability to walk, or someone who can't see can safely be in a space with people that can see, you know. So yeah, definitely like do a little research. And I'll take a moment just to think about like what your values are, like what flies and what doesn't fly with you, you know? Like, is it okay that we should be criminalizing homelessness? Is it okay that we should like just allow people just to raise prices just because they can without any other reason other than to make more money? What benefit do we get from this? And then what do you want to do about it? And there are plenty of orgs that are doing something about almost virtually anything you can think of. And then also, I want to go a step further, even to the orgs. We gotta stop being siloed. These are community problems. We have to be in community too. Mm-hmm. You know, it's okay to have your focus. Like our focus is housing. You know, other people's focus is work or trans rights or what have you. Right? It's okay to have those focuses. I'm not saying we can't have focuses. What I am saying is that like, we also need to be making communal plans so that when we are making our wins, it is not at the expense of our allies. And they've been doing that to us for years. And that's something that I've been seeing like when we have been like working closely together and like connecting with each other on a community org level. The impact is huge because now we are getting wins that is good for everybody and not at the backs of our allies.
Sweet. Well, that kicked ass. What do you have going on right now? What does the union have going on right now?
Oh my gosh, we have a couple of things going on right now, but the big one is so connected to more of like the state national thing or whatever is we have the August election, so we're gearing up for Get Out the Vote, commonly known as GOTV, and then I'm also leading the Eviction Court Watch Team, which is a part of our Right to Counsel campaign. And we are having our orientation social on the 21st, which is a Tuesday, from 6 to 7:30. It will be at Moontown Sound. And we will have council person from Zone 3, Brandon Jensen, also there to speak on the Right to Counsel bill. So those are two immediate, around the corner things that are happening. And then ongoing is, November is around the corner too. So we're gearing up for that. But yeah, if you want to get involved, you can reach me at DJai at sgftenantsunite.org.
Sweet. And is there like a documentary coming out sometime soon for Stun?
Oh man, see, you picked my Achilles heel. I hope there's a documentary coming out. If things going to plan, there's a trailer out for Finding Home on the socials. I've been doing the music and sound effects and that nature, and I'm working closely with Ezra, who is the director and editing the video. So yeah. Hopefully the end of the month of July, we'll have a documentary there. But if not, maybe soon after. But yeah, you found my Archangels one. But it's been fun. I'm really excited about it. So
hell yeah. And what personal projects do you have going on that people could check you out at?
Yes. My alter persona, DJai Byrd. So put just a D in front of my name, DJai Byrd @gmail.com. You can find me almost anywhere now, actually. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm primarily on Mixcloud. Actually, this is not a shameless plug. 417 Mix Collection. That community is crazy. They have a library of like 25 years of music of the Springfield scene. Yeah, some very passionate cats in there, and I am honored to be a part of that scene. But yeah, if you want to check out what I'm doing and you want to also kind of dabble and see what else is out there, 417 Mixed Collection, and you'll find me there as well.
Sick, sweet. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It was incredible speaking with you, just like on a personal level. It's been like, I've been wanting to have like a one-on-one with you for so long, so this was badass. And it's just, you're doing incredible work. You're very well known like in the organizing community for just being like an absolute badass doing powerhouse shit. Thank you so much for coming in. This was incredible. I'm excited to follow along with the work the union is doing and can't wait to see the next win that y'all bring to Springfield.
Well, thank you.
You can find more information about STUN on social media at SGF Tenants Unite or visit their website springfieldtenantsunite.org. Eviction Court Watch orientation will be held at Moontown Sound at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 21st. Turn out to get acquainted with the union and join the fight to win right to counsel for Springfield tenants. RSVP for the event is listed in the episode's description. Thank you again to Jay for joining me today. You can find him on social media at DJai Byrd, DJai Byrd, and reach out via DM or email jjai@sgftenantsunite.org. Power Scheming is produced by Elle Fabro. Music is by Liquid Salad. Cover art is by Jordan Metz. Production and audio support is by Isaac Protiva. Subscribe to Power Scheming wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Elle. Until next time.